I'm Yuxi and I'm TA for this course. This video is our Lab 1 demo. Our learning objectives are to learn how to create a project and how to set up project grids and levels, and then how to create walls in Revit. Okay, now let's open Revit. The first thing is to create a new Revit project from a template. Template provides a starting point for a project. Many settings and configurations are pre-built into a template. So let's go to the left side of this window. Click New. Now the construction template is selected. If you want to see much more templates, you can click the Browse button. In the English Imperial folder, you can choose the default template. Click Open. Click OK to create a new project. Let's pause for a few seconds, and you can click the Stop button and take a practice. For example, you can find the differences of different templates. Okay, let's move on to the next task. Add levels. Levels represent the key heads you are building. It is typically the first thing you want to do in any project setup. You can think about what important datum heads you need and set up all your levels to match those heads. Before adding levels, one thing I want to point out is that the view that's open is level 1 floor plan. And in a floor plan, the level tool is grayed out. So if you look over the views here in the project browser, you will see elevation views. Let's double-click the source elevation and take a look. Now, there are 2 levels. In this lab, we want to create a building with 4 floors. So we want two more levels for the 3rd and the 4th floor. And I will show you 2 methods to create levels. The first method is to draw a level from scratch. So let's click the level tool here. And you can click on the space to place at the start of the level. And you may notice that there's an extension line here you need to line up with the levels. And the number means the distance between these 2 levels. In this lab, we want to create a level 10 feet above the level tool. So let's put 10 in the text box. And also we want to line up with the end of the levels. So this is the first method to create a level. The second method is to use the Create Similar tool. Let's click the level first and click the Create Similar tool. And click the Pick Lines, green lines. The level 4 is also 10 feet above the level 3, so we define the offset as 10 feet. And then you can move your mouse around the level 3. And you can see a light blue dash line above or below this level 3 level line. Using this method, you can quickly create multiple levels. If you want to rename your levels, you can click the level or the name and rename it. And for these two levels, we don't use them. So if you want to delete a level, you can use the delete key on your keyboard, or you can use the right cross here. Now we'll learn how to create levels using two methods. And another useful tip is that when two level lines are too close, and the annotations overlap with each other, how to give more space for the annotations. Let's make an example. First, I will create new levels and show this example. And now you can see these two levels are too close and the annotations overlapped. If you want to see this 2F annotation, you can click the small broken lines to add an arrow. And you can also adjust the drag the grip downward or upward. So this tip is very useful in the practical project. So let me delete this level. Okay, that's all about adding levels. Let's pause for a few seconds and you can take a practice. Okay, next, we are talking about adding grids. Grid is another data element, and they define locations in each intersection and can be used to locate columns and other structural elements. And like adding levels, you can add grids using two methods. Draw a level from scratch and use the create similar tool. And in this lab, we will create 5 vertical grids and 5 horizontal grids with an offset of 16 feet. Let's first go to the first floor plan. You can go to any of the floor plan, and then click the grid tool. First, we draw a grid from scratch, and rename the grid name. Then we use the create similar tool to quickly create multiple grids. And then remember to define the offset of the grid. And using the same way, we can create 5 horizontal grid. Let's go to the Architecture tab and the grid. Rename the first horizontal grid X1. And then use the create similar tool. You can find the name of other horizontal grids are automatically created. Now we finished creating grids for our project. Let's pause for a few seconds and you can take a practice. Okay, the last part in this video is about placing walls. Now I have the grids I just created. They can be used to locate my walls. First, click the wall tool, and there's a properties palette here. And you can get access to all different types of walls provided by the system. Also, you can customize the walls using the Edit tab button. And remember, if you want to customize a wall, you will always duplicate because we don't want to change the system walls. Let's rename the duplicate walls as AW, short for assignment wall. And then we change the structure of the wall. We can add two finish layers, for example. Click OK. And now you'll find the wall looks different because we have two finish layers. Okay, after defining the wall type, we need to figure out the base and the top constraint of the wall. Here, since we create walls in the first floor plan, so the base constraint is set to the 1F automatically. And this is kind of a reference lines. And you can also set the base offset of which means if you set it as offset as 1 means your base of wall is 1 inch above the 1F level. And here we want to create walls for the first wall, so we just use the base offset as 0 and the base constraint as 1F. And then we want to determine the height of the wall. And there are two ways. The first one is we don't set up any reference line for the top constraint. So you can just use the unconnected. And we have an exact number of our wall height. And another method is that, for example, I just want to create a wall for the first floor. So my top of this wall should be the 2F level line. So I set it as up to level 2F. And then the unconnected height, it will be grayed out. We can't change this value. We can change the top offset of the wall. So this is the same of the base offset. And another thing we need to be noticed is that the wall center line. Since when we sketch, we just sketch a line, but the wall has the thickness. The wall center line means our sketch line will be aligned with the wall center line, and we can also set our sketch the wall align. Our sketch line will be aligned with the finish of the walls. So this provides some options. In this lab, we use the wall center line. Okay, now we place walls. If you are familiar with CAD, you may know this red cross means the intersection point, and the square means the end point. So they can help us to locate our walls. So our walls looks like this, and you can check the walls in the elevation view. You can find the base and the top of this wall constrained by these two levels. And you may notice there's a blue triangle around this wall. You can drag it to change the height of the wall. But usually we don't use this because we know the exact number of the height of the wall, and we set up the constraint. So we don't use this to determine our wall's height. And then I want to check the 3D view of the created walls. Let's go to the View tab, 3D view. And now you can see these walls in 3D view. And we can also change the visual style by clicking this visual style here. You can change it into shaded. And we can navigate this model using this cube. And now you've learned how to place walls in Revit and how to navigate your model in 3D view. Thank you for listening.